Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to Coffee with Mirko. Gloomy, grey day, rainy day in Melbourne, but we're ready to kick things off with a phenomenal friend, a phenomenal guest joining us very soon. So, as usual, I'm going to brew some coffee and we're gonna wait for a few people to join in before I'll introduce you to special guest from today. Hey, Coffee Candle, stick around. Agnieszka Rojewska is around the corner, so we're gonna be joined by her. So as soon as a few more people kick into the show, we're gonna be able to tell you all about her, and then we're gonna join her soon, as soon as I get my AeroPress out of the way. Hope you're well, Coffee Candle. Hopefully you're safe and sound with your family, and thank you for tuning in. And hey, Katerina, good to see you all. So Agnieszka Rojewska is just very well known to be the first ever female barista to win the world stage. She's the 2018 World Barista Champion. So she's definitely someone with lots of experience and an amazing representative for the females into the coffee industry. So hopefully we're gonna get lots of ladies, girls into the show today, because Aga is really that person with that fire, but also good for us boys to listen to her. She really has an incredible amount of fires. She's requesting me now. Aga, wait 2 seconds. I'll brew a cup of coffee and then you can, we're gonna get started. All right. So yeah, I'm very excited. Big episode, so stay tuned, and we should be done very soon with this. Beautiful part of the AeroPress is being very quick. Coffee's already been grounded because it makes too much noise. It's a natural Mexican filter coffee by Gridlock. Pretty delicious actually. And yeah, so like I was saying, for people who are tuning in, Agnieszka Rojewska, 2018 World Barista Champion. So you're in for a good treat. This show is very simple. I'll ask a whole set of questions, and we're just gonna have literally, virtually coffee together, and you'll be able to ask all the questions that you have probably towards the end, and it's gonna be of good fun. So stick around. Coffee's nearly ready, and I'm gonna clean that later. All right. What I like about Aga, I met her last year here in Melbourne, is that despite this incredible internal fire when it comes to competition, she's super humble and just very, very available as far as answering questions, and you just can see that passion through her amazing work. So like I said, I think especially for lots of female baristas out there, this is really a good chance to ask the right questions and get a little bit of motivation. We had amazing female baristas on in the last couple of weeks. We had Nicole, we had Andrea Allen, and we had GB. Today's Aga's turn, so very excited. And once we plunge this in, she will join us. We'll sit down, and I got a lot of questions, and then you can ask yours. So let's start. I'm gonna say hi to a few people. Mitchell, Sonu, Sanremo Coffee Machine in the United Arab Emirates. Hey, JW, Mohsen, Kami, Hamid, what's good? Nicole, I see you in the building. Ryan, Alirez, Ben, and to all of you guys joining, thank you for tuning in. In less than 20 seconds, we're going to have Aga. Hey, Annalise, Ilelo, thank you all for tuning in, guys. We're ready. Hope your coffee. I'm yourself with a good cup of coffee. It is Coffee with Mirko time, and it's also time with Aga, so not just Mirko. Here we go.
Hello.
Hey, how are you? Yeah. I yes. I think the internet needs a little bit warm up, and then it should stabilizes because at the beginning you just like that. But
Yeah.
first and foremost, how are you? Because obviously it's a very unusual situation. So how's you and your family doing?
Well, we're okay. The situation in Poland is kind of changing. So we used to be like 2 weeks ago, we couldn't even leave houses for a walk, but now it's getting a little bit better. So you can go for a walk, you can go for shopping. It's pretty easy, and there is no panic anymore in here. But people get a little bit of tired of sitting at home. So you can see them
Yeah,
trying
of
to,
course.
stretch the rules a little bit. But we're fine. Everybody's okay, and my parents are in their house. My brother lives in Switzerland, so he's in a different situation, and I'm staying in a bigger city. So like we're kind of alone from each other, but we're doing fine.
That's super good to hear. And
Yeah,
obviously, your second family in Bergamo, our hearts go to them, of course,
yes,
because that was one of the cities majorly hit. And yeah, I'm glad to hear you fine. And good to see you again after a few months
yeah,
in a different
yeah.
format. I was hoping to see you next at the, Melbourne International Coffee Expo, but we'll see. Hopefully, it's still on in
Yeah.
November. Thank you for joining and finding this
It's my
time.
pleasure.
I know you're busy, so I'll get
Not
started with the. Sorry, go on.
like I'm not that busy right now because of the COVID situation, so it's it's a good thing to actually have something to do in the morning, beside of playing PlayStation and reading books. So
Well, which is good because I think it gives people an idea that you don't just brew coffee all day every day. You human. You play PlayStation too, which is
yes,
absolutely understandable. um, Simple, easy question to cut it
yeah.
through. Um, how did you get started into coffee for people who don't know you yet or don't know the story?
Well, it was a pretty accidental story. I was finishing my first year in the university. I was studying economy in Poznań, in the city that I used to live in. And my dad, he got a little bit angry that me and my brother are not doing anything during the summer. So he kind of forced me and my brother to find a job. And I was going back from university by train, and then there was this coffee shop. It was a chain coffee shop, kind of a Polish version of Starbucks. So I just left a CV over there, and they hired me next week. So this is how it started. And for me, it was supposed to be work for 3 months only. My dad wanted me to have a job, so I did have a job for 3 months, and I wanted to quit. But after those 3 months, I already find out there is something like latte art, and I started to like it, and there was few passionate people about coffee. But what actually keeps me in the work was having my own money. So the first thing, it was the first time I ever earned money, so it was pretty awesome to have an extra money. So I stayed mostly because of that, and after 6 months, I was competing in a first internal competition, and this was the moment when I saw that the coffee kind of can be something more than just a coffee with milk, and it can taste in a different way, and you can actually be much better than a hardened rosette and latte art. And I just stayed because I was interested. So this was pure accident. I could find a job in any other place, but it was a coffee shop. So
Which is great. I'm glad the accident happened because it gave us one of the most inspiring women person into the coffee game. So I'm glad that happened.
yeah,
And obviously, after winning several competitions, because your palmarès is quite vast. You obviously landed an outstanding first place in the 2018 World Barista
yeah.
Champion, first female barista winning. How important was this achievement for you, but especially for as well the women in coffee?
Well, the thing is with this 2018. I never expected to be in the top six, and I never expected, especially to win it. So half a year after I won, I was basically every day changing if they results. So I was a little bit surprised. So I think I still don't have this like ability in my head to call myself a world barista champion. So it's like there's so many people that deserve it more than I do that I still don't believe it actually happened. But I know it was important for a lot of them because it was kind of a curse that we couldn't win the WBC. And a lot of women were getting disappointed and tired, and they were just like starting to lose hope. And I was getting a lot of messages after that, that win, that it bring back the faith in coffee, and then you don't have to, and there is now another curse, and then they have another, willing to compete. And it was super nice that they found like the strength again, which was super great. And I believe that a lot of women also felt like the relief that it's not such a men's game, and then now something might change. And as you see, also in Brewers Cup and in barista competition, for 2 years there was women winning. So I believe that we get the second breath, and now it's gonna be a little bit more women's game than the men's game.
Yeah, and I think it's brilliant. I think that you exactly summed up what it was in my head, which is it was a great platform for other females out there to overcome their fears and judgment or insecurities and give it a good go. And like you said, there's been many more out there after you, which is great. Had the pleasure to talk with other female baristas prior to this episode. Andrew Allen, GB, Nicole. I think Nicole is watching too. So all amazing. They all won in their country, which is still very amazing. Even reaching top 5 is still very, very, very great. So no, it's good. When it comes down to competition, you kind of remind me of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, which is a compliment. In the sense of, you kind of have that eye, that fire, which is great. I think competitions are made to be won. And it just truly shows the passion that you got for the game. Now, going back to that final routine, you introduced some concept that's very close to me, which is a more connected approach with the judges and almost like a simulation of a cafe experience. What made you choose this kind of idea and direction?
Well, the story behind it has like two sides. First of all, I won nationals in March of 2018. So the thing is, if you look at the previous WBC routines, they were all very scientific, or like the going into that routine take a lot of time or take a lot of money. So if you take 2015 WBC by Sasa Sestic, so he was using a new varietal and new processing method, which you have to have the access to the farm, and it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of years to actually develop that. I didn't have time and I didn't have money to do that. 2016, Simple Kafa Bergu, he was using Finca Deborah Panama Geisha, which was pretty expensive and pretty extraordinary coffee. I didn't have access to that coffee, and I didn't have money to buy such a coffee. And back then, before I won, I was kind of nobody. So even if I reached the producer to ask him for the best possible coffee, he wouldn't trust me with such a great thing. So this also wasn't the plan for me. Then you have Dale Harris, when he had very nice presentation, but with very scientific approach, also a lot of research behind that. And I also didn't have money, I didn't have time, and didn't have the access to the university to do such a big research. So I was thinking what I am able to do with the amount of time, with the amount of money, and with the skills I have. What is something that I'm actually able to do? And I used to work in a coffee shop. I used to have it, and I was thinking that I always struggled with people that worked for me. They were too smart for the customers that we used to have in a coffee shop, which means that most of the time it's not their fault, but they were kind of offending customers with like showing them that they don't have the knowledge for the specialty coffee. And there was there was no customer service in between because they were trying to, teach them, and not a lot of customers like to be taught. And I was thinking that maybe more people doesn't see the gap between specialty coffee baristas and the coffee professionals and just the typical customers that have never been in a specialty coffee, and they have no idea that the coffee before it was roasted is green. So there is this huge gap, and I wanted to point out that we should take care of making this gap smaller so we can get more people into specialty coffee shops and to drink specialty coffee. And I knew that this is possible because you don't need a lot of money to do such a thing. You just need a good routine and a good idea for it. So this was the two things. I was thinking about what I cannot do and what is actually important for me as a barista. So that's the story behind.
I love it. I think it's also very relevant for the market and the situation where we are in. I think that after COVID-19, that connection with the customer is going to be extremely important, because a lot of times for the past couple of years, we really focused too much on the cup and on the machine, and which is okay in terms of quality product, but maybe we've left that connection a little bit behind. And I think that now with COVID, with people after long time in isolation by themselves, we as a whole community, we can get together and create a human level of connections again, whether it's just a smile, whether it's just a small hint of education, and slowly I think that's going to be a successful element. So I really appreciate that. And I think that your first time coffee and drinking with the judges was just really cool, because I think most baristas watching or going to watch again, we have done that. Like, I had drunk coffee with a customer before, split shot, it's just an espresso. Sure, I'll have the other one, which was great. Do you think on that wave, that's also a good way to introduce and grow specialty coffee by connecting with people?
Yeah, well, that's the thing that we talk about coffee most of the time. So you make a coffee and you tell them, so it's gonna taste like this, and that, and basically you don't drink that coffee. You don't have you just told them, and they're like, okay, so I should taste that, but because he told me that. And the moment that you don't guide them, like where they should, like if you say strawberry, a lot of people would just think that it tastes like a strawberry ice cream or maybe a strawberry jam or something. And if you don't guide them, that is just a hint. And the moment you feel it, like they're getting a little bit lost. It's like, with those expensive wines, a lot of people are afraid of drinking good quality wine because they are afraid they will not be able to find the right quality. And people get much more trust the moment you kind of get their hand and you just guide them through the experience. And they are more willing to learn the moment you actually tell them. So the strawberry will be like in a little bit of the back palate, or like the first thing you drink, the first thing you feel is kind of acidity, but it's good. The acidity comes from here, and they kind of get to understand the product better. So the next time they're gonna come, they will try to do it themselves because they already know that the strawberry is not it's not a strawberry jam. It's gonna be a hint. It's not gonna be like the primary and the only flavor. So when you give them the experience, you kind of like become a friend, and then you kind of you gain their trust. And when the moment they trust you, they are more willing to experiment. So you will be able to give them like a more funky coffee or like more interesting coffee. And they will already know that you're not tricking them to pay more or anything like that. And the moment when you get the trust and connection, they will just come back for more because they already get something extra in the price of coffee.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's important that we just stick with that kind of element rather than trying to, I suppose, I hate the word conversion, but we are kind of converting, especially people in the front line in coffee, but it's sort of conversion. Conversion doesn't happen at the first heat. It has to be a little bit of a warm up. It has to be a little bit of stretching before you can, take it home. So you're right. It's like it's a patience game, and eventually, once you win that trust, and once you win that, hey, you can trust me, you become that bartender at the cafe who you listen to, and you watch the movie scenes where it's like, you got the problems, you got the bartender. Now it's the barista. So yeah, I like what you said. Someone is asking if you like coffee geisha, probably Arabica. That's from Panama. I'm sure you do.
Well, I don't know a person that doesn't like that coffee. It's the varietal and the origin. This is like an extraordinary combination. So I don't know a person who doesn't like Panama geisha. So the answer is of course yes.
Yes, I agree. We're actually gonna have someone from, well, a very famous person from Panama, or someone who is very well known in Panama, coming in a couple of weeks. Very excited to have him on board. One more question before we get back on mind. Would you consider to compete at Coffee Masters again?
Well, Daniel, I cannot compete in Coffee Masters ever again because I was judging one. And the rule is that if you judge the Coffee Masters, you're not allowed to compete anymore. So I would consider, but I'm not allowed to.
I see. I like your smile when I mentioned Zlatan Ibrahimovic, because I know you like football, and Zlatan also played for Juventus. Yeah. So, and he's a lion out there.
Yes, he is.
So
he's a monster.
Yeah, which is just good. So obviously you're inspiring a lot of baristas out there. What sort of message do you like to leave usually with anyone? Doesn't have to be boys or girls, like in terms of how to get started. Because I think a lot of people, I see COVID as a good chance for people to reconsider their career and go back to do what they actually love. And potentially barista jobs might be more accessible than a high paid job, executive level. So I think a lot of people need to start look at alternatives which could enable them to pursue their passion. So in order to get started, what usually is your kind of words of advice?
Well, when somebody is thinking about getting into coffee business and just starting to work, well, most of them, they are directly look for working in the best possible coffee shop. And what I suggest is just go for a coffee shop and start working. Because you're not going to be hired by one of the best coffee shops in the market if you don't get the basic skills. So even working in a very busy coffee shop chain with not like the top quality coffee will just teach you how to work fast and efficient, and then will give you the basic skills. And a part of just doing that job, you should try to educate yourself. So, going to public cuppings or reading about it, going to courses by yourself. The thing is that in a coffee shop, they're going to teach you their own standards, their own procedures. And if you want to understand the coffee, you have to have your own idea. So if you want to, so the thing is don't think about getting started, just go for the coffee shop and start to make coffee. And you will see even if you like it or not, because a lot of people believe that working in a coffee shop is mostly making fancy coffees, which is, I'm sorry to say, but bullshit. Most of the time it's clean. And it's not that fancy job that most of the people believe that it is. So if you're gonna work in a very busy coffee shop and you don't like it, so the best coffee shops are there are even more procedures, because you have to be skilled enough to keep the right quality, to be able to actually dial in the grinder in not in a basic way, but you have to be able to find the hints inside of the coffee that will make this extraordinary experience. And of course your customer service have to be better, because if you're having better coffee, you have to be able to sell it better. And the customers are more demanding in those coffee shops. So if you think about starting in coffee, just find a place which is pretty busy, and you know that they do at least basic training, and just start working. And a part of that, just educate yourself. That's what I would suggest.
I think that's great. I think you're absolutely right. There's such a misconception on what is that going to do to my resume or curriculum? But reality is that even if you work for a commercial cafe, you can always remove that from your CV or for your curriculum, so you don't have to put it. But instead, you're learning the ropes and you're learning the skills that require the basics. So 100%. I actually just spoke to someone who used to work here in Melbourne and then moved back to Italy. Maybe she's watching. She asked me what I thought about her going to work at Starbucks in Milan, and I said, I think it's fantastic. You know, it's like, if it's the only job available after COVID-19, take it. You know, I think what they're doing over there is also a little bit different than all the other Starbucks in the world, but also you're going to keep your training up because you're going to keep practicing, you know. It's not going to be as cool as your latest coffee shop here in Melbourne. It's about funky, hipster, special coffee shop, but at least you keep up to date as well as far as manual process and skills. Otherwise, you get rusty. Now, thanks for that, Naga. Now, a little bit out of the box question here. Have you visited any specialty coffee shops in Italy? Because obviously you've been a little bit more in my beautiful hometown.
Yeah, the thing with well, I was able to live there for 10 days before I needed to go back to Poland for competition, and after that I couldn't go back again to Italy. So what I visited was in Bergamo. There is a Bugan coffee shop, so I visited them. They actually take all of the Italian, you know, titles this year, so they are pretty good. So I visited this one, and of course I visited, because I was curious, the Milano Starbucks roastery. I just wanted to see how they actually, but it was too long to wait for the coffee, so we just visited how it looked like. So I haven't drank coffee over there, but the coffee in Bugan is pretty nice, and I see that there is a big, maybe not need, but there's like this big movement of getting this specialty coffee in Italy to a higher level, and more roasteries, and even the big ones, they do single origins now, and it's pretty good quality. So there's gonna be a big change, because people in Italy, they love coffee, they just get used to a different type of coffee, and if the market will be covered with specialty coffee, they will be very eager to have it. So I'm looking forward to go back and try a little bit more than I did.
Yeah, me too. I only visited a couple last time I went, and I'm eager to learn more about it. But yeah, no. Adaba, name's always complicated, but I guess Ada Baskaya could be. What will be the effect of pandemic to third way coffee shops, do you reckon?
Well, the bad thing is that, looking what's happening in my country, because I don't know how it works in the other ones, and there might be a few that will not be able to survive it, depending on the on the politics of the country. It's gonna be like in Poland, they are closed, they can only sell to takeaway, and there was this period of time where when the people couldn't even leave houses, so selling to takeaway when nobody's on the street was kind of very difficult. So I believe that some of them might not survive it, or they will have to change their business style a little bit into more kind of maybe restaurant more based, or they're gonna try to deliver. For sure that all of the coffee shops will need to rethink how they sell coffee, because there is a lot of things that we don't. We're just thinking of, okay, so we're gonna go back to normal, but what's gonna be the normal thing? Like the COVID, the coronavirus will stay with us, and before we get the cure, or before our immune system will be strong enough to take care of it, we're gonna face the same problem. So what about the cups that we used to have this trend of less waste, so everybody was having the reusable cup, and now the coffee shops are kind of not allowed to take them because of the possible infection. So the thing is that if the coffee shop would like to survive and make sure that their customers are safe, they have to rethink the way that they will actually sell the coffee and how they work. But it's going to be very individual in a lot of countries. Also, the customers might change the experience, because they might be afraid at the beginning to go back to coffee shops. You don't know that. So there will be a new reality, and the thing is that until we know the reality, we don't know if the specialty coffee will go back as strong as it used to be. And specialty coffee shops, they were giving more of the experience instead of only a product. And the thing is, will people be still able and want to go and sit in a coffee shop, like crowded coffee shops, for that experience? You don't know that. Like we don't know how the people will behave.
Absolutely. To just finish that off, because it's a topic that's really close to me. I think on a business point of view, a lot of coffee shops should be also looking at all the things that we're not doing or overlooking before. So social media, branding, making their business into a different form. So really push the boundaries. There's a reason why certain shops, thanks to their branding, were able to charge more even before COVID-19. And we go back to that service. So I think that the product, the height of the product should match the height of the experience and service and everything around it. And then I think e-commerce will be essential. So maybe time to start to make your own jam, because you make amazing jam, to make your own bread, to make your own Nutella or whatever. You stick it up, you package it up, and you start really pushing as well those channels to kind of survive. So I think take advantage of the internet. And we've seen the explosion of Zoom. Nobody knew what Zoom was until a month ago. And now I was having a meeting with Panama and with Zoom, which is crazy. And, you know, I think that we need to take advantage of that. And as well for people like yourself and trainers or educators, I think, why didn't I do this live show a year ago? Like I could have, you know? And I think that we can start to rethink a few things for sure. You named Bugan Coffee Lab, and here they are. So Bugan, Aga did a pretty big shout out to you guys. Nicole Butterfeld, which I'm sure you know, she's asking, hey Nicole, thanks for coming in the other day. Do you think that due to COVID, the competitors will not be able to compete, and will it affect the comp quality?
Well, this year will be very difficult, and I think that few of the competitors might not be able to compete, especially that we have World Championship. One is in Australia, which is pretty strict when it comes to getting people from outside, and they're pretty much afraid of being infected again. This might happen, and a lot of people from those mostly heated countries probably will not be able to come, and maybe not the quality of the competition will be still very high, but I think that some of the countries might have difficulties with bringing the great coffee for the competition for their competitors. Some of the nationals might not happen or might happen in the last minute, and that means that there will be less time to prepare something new for the World Barista Championship or for World Brewers Cup or for whatever world competition. Of course, the COVID also affect the farmers. So if we are not buying coffees in Europe, for example, or in Australia, and the roasteries have to cancel shipments, the farmers are not getting paid. So the moment they are not getting paid, they also in the crisis, and they will not able to get better quality coffee for the next year. So of course it will affect the whole chain. I think that still the quality in the WBC will be very high, but it will just demand more work from the competitors and from the company work for. But I hope most of the national winners will be able to go to Australia, Warsaw, and compete on the world level. And I believe that if you're already a national champion, doesn't matter what coffee you're gonna get, you're just gonna do 110% from yourself, and the quality of the competition will be still very high. You have to remember that we are all facing the same problems. It's like people ask me in latte art, so you have the same milk, so this means that somebody is in a better position. Actually, no, because we have the same milk. If the milk is bad, we all have the same problem. If the milk is great, we all have the same advantage. So It's all about competitors, and I believe that they will still give 110%, maybe 120.
I think so too, and I think that there's going to be some baristas who are going to rethink and reinvent their routine around maybe certain things that happen, which you might bring some extremely creative things popping up. So I definitely can see that. I have brought up before in the previous episode how maybe we might see, maybe they're going to decide to, for safety reason, to stream the competition rather than allow the public to get inside. I'm not sure if that's a possibility, but obviously we all have been to coffee expos, it's packed of people. There is definitely no 1.5 meters away from each other,
No.
and it's usually locked into a big showroom or showground. So maybe they might decide to stream or use technology to an advantage, but I'm not sure if that's viable on a monetary point of view, because they rely on those tickets to be sold. So I'm not sure how they can implement it. Oh.
The nationals in Poland, the nationals in Poland were also probably will be a closed, competition. So it will be only competitors, judges, and helpers on spot, and then we'll have a stream on the internet. Because in here we have still forbidden, the gathering to more than 50 people. Like now it's like gathering to more than 5 is forbidden, but it's with the date of competition, the gathering should be up to 50 people. It's not even the competitors, judges, and but there is an idea of streaming it. Of course, it's always nicer when you have the audience. I don't think I will be as good as I've been in Amsterdam if there was no this crowd, cheering. It always gives you like this special kick, which was super great. But if it's necessary for everybody to be safe, why not? It's still a competition.
100%. And I agree. I think I'm big into football, so I get it. The crowd pushes you. I've seen that you've been to the stadium to watch your Juventus, so you get it. I get it. Which, going back to the competition, I guess in those 15 minutes, what's your secret that pushed you towards winning? Like everyone has that X factor. Everyone has that push where is I don't know, mom told me not to become a barista, or I just want to win, whatever it is.
Well, for me, the push for me was that I didn't even want to win. I think I had on the stage, I had no expectation in the first round. So the first routine in Amsterdam, what I did was just do it and make it done and see what happened, if people like it. Because from the beginning, I knew that talking about customer service might be too easy for a world stage and might be not good enough, not important enough, not, interesting enough. So I was just do the 15 minutes in like, how you practice it. And I practice it in like, such a big hype and excitement that I just wanted to sell it in the right way. And I had no expectations, and that allows me to be less stressed and just have much more fun of that. So this was the first round. The second round was a little bit more stressed because the kick was to be 9. The best ever Polish competitor was 10, and I really wanted to be higher than that. So I was like, okay, so just do it good enough to be 9. And then I was in the final, and the final was like, whatever happens is okay. There was no Polish person in the final ever, and I was like, yeah, okay. It's just like I think that was the kick for me. There was no expectation. I was just mostly having fun on stage, which was pretty exciting. There was no pressure. Nobody expected me to win, and it just happened.
I get absolutely what you're saying, and I think that's the right attitude, because Rubens Gardelli recommended me to watch this documentary about the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan times, and a sentence that stuck with me, and I spoke about it with Andrea Allen, the 2020 USA President, with her as well, is that people ask if he was nervous on his first game. There's a lot of people, and he said, I got no time to be nervous. I'm just going to go out there and do what I love, which is play basketball. And you kind of did that. You're like, I got no time to be nervous. I'm going to go there and I love coffee. Speaking about Italian coffee shops, saying hi to Stato Specialty, these guys, they should be on your list because they're not far from Bergamo. They're just in Brescia. So, yeah,
Okay.
definitely
I'll
worth
put
it to
them
go
on the
see
list.
Alberto. Yeah,
I'll
like
put them on the list.
they got 6-7 different coffees on the menu all the times, and yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
I'm sure you're gonna visit them. Cool. Thanks for that. I think it's essential for people to understand that, to don't overthink the entire process about getting a barista job or getting into competition. Do it. Get started. You'll see whatever we'll see. Whatever happens, happens. And I think it's pretty important, yeah.
You know, that's the thing. Like a lot of those people that in the end became world barista champions or like are very successful, they didn't have the success in like a month. I'm working in coffee since 2008, and I was competing since 2009. And the first time I won nationals was 2014. So like it's constantly you're kind of losing. So it's not gonna be immediately. And I was working in a chain, then I was working in a coffee shop when we had like 20 customers a day, because it was a shop with espresso machines and a coffee shop. So there was like you actually didn't make coffee during the day. Then I didn't have a job for 6 months, and then we opened a coffee shop, which was even harder. So it's like it's a constant fight. Nobody will give it to you if you want to work with coffee. It's a little bit of a challenge, but we all know it's worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it. Patience is the key for any type of growth. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like you can read a lot about running and becoming a marathon. There's a lot of books out there, but if you don't start running every morning, then you're not going to finish that marathon, no matter how many books you read about it. So 100%, you got to practice, and lots of respect for that, because I mean, look where you are now, and you just, out of, by chance, you fell in love with something that you believe and pursue every single day. I think you're winning, it's no longer about money. It's like, you wake up and you do what you love. Speaking of which, coffee, fantastic. You love it. Competing, I'm assuming you love it because you've done it a few times. You also teach, you also train, you also consult. What would you say is Aga's core passion? What's your core passion? If you had to create an ideal job that doesn't exist, what would that look like?
Well, the thing is that my core passion is football, so I always wanted to be a football manager. And
That's cool.
so this was my idea when I was like 7, 8, 9. Like I was 8 when I fell in love with football. It was during Euro '96, and then 2 years later I fell in love with Juventus and Alessandro Del Piero as a team. Zidane, Inzaghi, Del Piero, Deschamps, Pesotto, Montero, Buffon, all those people, Davids, Tacchinardi. There was like a great team. So I was from that on, my first dream was to become a footballer, but I broke my leg and I broke my arm, and my mom says, you're not playing football anymore. And then I was like, so I'm gonna become a football manager, and this was the idea. That's why I took the economic studies, because I wanted to be a kind of a Jose Mourinho in football, but as a woman. And everything just like turned out in a different way. So if I could be a football manager, I think I would try that.
Maybe there is out there a way to to kind of combine coffee and football. I'm trying to figure out what that looks like. But yeah, I remember the Juventus. I think that no wonder that now Cosimo, and yourself kind of work together. That worked out well because he's a big Juventus supporter. So I get that. So
he brought me a
okay, that's
t-shirt of
interesting.
Juventus.
Sorry, I missed that.
He brought me a T-shirt from of Juventus. One is with my name, and the other one is with Pjanic. So he gave me as a gift, like as a welcome gift. He gave me a Juventus T-shirt.
That's nice. And he got you in at the end with the Juventus jersey. That's
Yeah,
clever marketing. That's smart.
yeah.
I know it is clever. Well, it's interesting because I think that, you know, it's so out of the box because it's like, oh, my dream is soccer, but maybe, you know, it could be simply as having a coffee shop outside, the first ever specialty coffee shop outside the, you know, Juventus Stadium, which is maybe not quite as become a manager, but maybe you could combine coffee with, or become the first ever coffee cart whilst Juventus is training. I'm not sure what that looks like, but it's interesting. Okay, that's cool. We share that together because my dream was always to be in football, so that's interesting. Of course, as most Italian boys growing up in the 90s. Daniel is asking, and thanks for the question, how many routines did you do before the WBC?
Well, for the 2018, there was only one. The idea was pretty like I didn't have time, so there was one idea for the routine, and I was practicing it. And I think in the practice I did this routine around 100 times, which is not as many as for example the new World Barista champion, because I knew that Julian was practicing much more than I did, but 100 was still pretty much a lot. Uh, this was the most I ever did. So
I think at 100 is still very solid because at the end of the day, it's a lot. It's 100 times 15 minutes, and let's not forget.
yeah,
So, and then
plus
there's a lot of
plus
coffee.
cleaning, plus
Yeah, plus
cleaning,
yeah,
and
no, well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's different than latte art because obviously latte art it's a little bit more, I guess, mechanic. It's mechanic as well, but it's kind of different.
yeah,
I was talking to Caleb on how he calculated how he was doing 300 cups a day with latte art for 7
yeah.
weeks consecutively. So that's pretty interesting. Passionate about coffee. Of course, you can ask any questions, 100%. I
Yeah.
mean, outside WBC, of course. Okay, that's 100 times whatever time it takes, obviously, to practice, plus the cleaning on all of it, and it landed you the first spot. But you could have trained more or less, and at the end of the day, it's also about the idea and what you're doing during the competition. So yeah, well done to you for sure.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Thanks.
That's really
Yeah,
impressive. So
the thing with the practice, like
yeah,
a
go
lot of
on.
people believe that is only the routine that you actually practice. But before you practice the routine, there is a lot of time you have to put into writing this right speech, and then you just cut stuff out of the speech, and then you have to do the recipes. So like you dial in the coffee, you check the coffee every day with different, you have the bag of coffee and you open it, and then you try it open after 15 minutes, after half an hour, then you have the same coffee to try the next day. You have to make sure that you know your coffee like is a part of your family. So the thing is to be able to get to be sure that the moment you take the bag of coffee, you know how it's going to taste like. It's not going to surprise you. And the same is that you know that for sure, for example, your coffee tastes like this in if it extracts between 20 and 23 seconds, but if it extracts 27, you have to be more or less aware of what's going to taste like. So a lot of practice actually takes getting to know all your recipes and all your beverages and coffees. So this is the part that nobody actually think about, but it takes another, I don't know, 3 weeks to actually get that.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I'll hold my question that just popped in my head for a second. Passionate asking, if you work in a cafe where you're the only one that you want to learn and try different recipes, how do you do that?
I would consider maybe changing a coffee shop if you're the only one that actually pushes it. have this similar situation. So I was the only one that was doing latte art in the place. So like the other co-workers, they were not only not willing to learn with me, but they were more like trying to stop me from learning, because they were afraid that if I know how to make latte art and they don't, the boss will ask them to actually learn that, and they didn't want it. The thing is that if you're the only one that are willing to experiment, there are not a lot of ways. You can do it after hours, or you can do it at home. That's the thing. Like it also depends on your boss. Sometimes the boss is allowing you to do that, to experiment, to create new recipes for the brews, or to create new recipes for the beverages. But if the boss is not that open-minded, and he just believes that you should do what's there is not a lot of opportunities for you. That's why a lot of coffee professionals, they do experiment at home, and they have all toys. But you can start to look for places that are more open-minded. If you're already experienced, it's not that it's not going to be that difficult, especially in Australia, to actually change a job to a different coffee shop. Australia is full of coffee shops.
Yeah, 100%, especially Melbourne and Sydney. We definitely don't have shortage of coffee shops. You're right, and I agree with you. And I thought about practicing at home as one of the answers too. I mean, most of us know the story of Colin Harmon and the third floor espresso, and it is what it is. It's like practice, and what's the best place to be at home. So if you can't change your job or different situations, it's after hours, like you said, or get yourself a chip machine or something at home, and keep pushing for sure. I got you saying, now you're in New Zealand, boss is willing too, but the others are against caffeine, etc. Well, I guess, sorry for jumping in. I think if they're closed off, because I used to manage a lot of coffee shops as a wholesale roaster. I think it's important to include them, but not force them. So it's more about getting them in through the back door rather than the front door. So it's more like you do all the job, and eventually they will come to you later on, but it has to be in a way that it's like all-rounded, and to really showcase that you're doing it out of passion and love, for sure, and not to be better than them. It's more like, hey, I'm passionate about coffee, we got a grinder and a machine here, we're gonna play. If you want to join, let's do it. If not, too bad, I'll do it by myself.
Yeah, like after some time, probably it will be maybe a longer process, but after maybe a few times you do the capping, there will be one person that comes in, like maybe the person was a little bit shy, but then they will come. And if not, just remember that you don't learn only in a group. Like if you're gonna do the cappings only with you and your boss, for example, you're still gonna learn. So just use the possibility that your boss is actually open-minded for that.
Yeah. 100%. Something that's kind of connected to this question, and it's very important question, I believe. How also is crucial to have the right mentors around you, because I mean, you kind of touch base with that here in Melbourne when I met you, and you told me about the importance of meeting the right people who approached you. How crucial is that to have the right people around you?
Well, if you're alone, like it's always a bigger struggle, because like you have to push yourself and you don't get this extra motivation. So what I was getting in my career, I was getting people that none of the people that I met in my journey, they weren't saying no, they weren't stopping me. They were more like encouraging and trying to help me, which is super helpful, especially at the beginning when you don't have the knowledge. Because if you're just getting started, it's very difficult to find the right answers, to find the right way, especially now when the internet is full of different recipes, different ideas, different approaches to coffee. So if you have this one person that is more experienced and at least can tell you where to go, what to try, even like what coffee shops to visit, it's always easier to get on the right track. If you don't get those people in your life, the problem will be that you have to be very stubborn and patient to stay in that industry. I was having 2 years like that in my life where there was nobody like helping, nobody willing to be kind of this mentor for me, and I needed to learn by myself. And you're getting disappointed and you're getting exhausted very fast. So for the competition, I only had the coach for Amsterdam. It was Sash, but before that, I was doing it on my own. So you can trust me. You want to give up every second day because it doesn't work as you want. So
Yeah.
to follow your idea, and sometimes it might be your best friend or even like your girlfriend or boyfriend, or sometimes brother or sister. So it just have to be a person that will push you down the road and just inspire you to chase your dreams.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, 100%. And I also think, to add to that, in this day and age, I think we are a lot of coffee people that we look up to. They are a click away from us, so we can always try to reach out, whether it's a direct message or an email or a LinkedIn message or something like that. But
yeah, but like those, I'm getting a lot of those questions through Instagram. Just what I would like to say is that those questions have to be a little bit more specific than how to brew good coffee, because you can write a book about that and still don't get the right answer. So like if you want to ask somebody from like the other side of the world and you don't know that person, try to be a little bit more specific, and like also there is no right recipe. There is no one recipe to brew Ethiopia natural, because like there is like hundreds of Ethiopia's naturals. So like the questions have to be a little bit more precise. So we will be able to answer actually.
100%. I think the video froze for a second, but I'm glad that you answered that question.
Yeah.
We actually are approaching the 60 minutes mark, which is crazy because I feel like that we just and I don't want to hold you for another hour, because I think I can keep going talking, but I don't want to abuse of your time. I'm sure you can play some FIFA or PES, whatever you play, with Juventus, of course. Is there anything else you want to say before we kind of close it off, or something, a next project that you have in mind, or anything like that?
Well, we're having with Cosimo and Karimali, we're having an exciting project that we wanted to show during MICE, and we will show it in November. So it's something to look forward, because it might be also helping with this situation we have right now. So we are building a espresso machine without the boiler inside. So it's going to be, kind of heating on demand. So whatever temperature you want, you're getting this in 3 seconds. Which is going to be super small and super light, and not very energy efficient espresso machine, which will also help in like, for example, delivery service, because it can work on a battery. So you can put it on a scooter, you can put it on a bike, and then drive whenever with the espresso machine and actually make it over there. So we're really looking forward for this idea and to develop this, which is pretty exciting. And we want to launch it at the beginning of a new year. We were supposed to do it this year, but the COVID situation messed a little bit. But we're gonna show it at MICE. So if you're gonna visit the trade show and World Barista Championship, come visit us in Karimali booth, and I'll be there making coffee, so I can tell you more about that and show it to you.
I look forward to see you there too, because obviously I'm in Melbourne, so very, very lucky. It almost sounds like a Tesla for coffee machines.
That's the idea. That's the idea.
I hate Instagram because they only give you the 30 seconds counter, and as soon as it starts, you're like, shit, I got 30 seconds. So before that starts, thank you for coming on. I feel very grateful, blessed to having you. I really appreciate all the things and stories and knowledge that you shared. I think that you're incredible, and I hope that you stay safe and sound. And I hope to see you in Melbourne very soon, because it means that everyone is good, and it's 20 seconds left. So sending you much love, and thank you again for coming on.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. Bye. Have a good day.
Thank you, Aga.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye.